Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to Let's Play a Little Prison Architect. A lot of people have been asking me to play this game for quite some time now, and I generally have said, it's a rough gem is what it is, just pulled out of the earth, still sort of encrusted with a little dirt and uncut and unpolished, but it's got so much potential. And really, it is just an alpha. Everyone who's playing this game right now is playing in an alpha, nowhere close to being done, and the developers are quite open about that. So that's why I hadn't done a video before, but now it's starting to come together in a pretty nice way, and this weekend on Steam there happens to be a big sale, so I figured, you know what, now's a good time to make the video and talk about what this game is about and give some impressions and maybe, semi-tutorialize it, because there is a built-in tutorial, but I don't know if it's the most user-friendly thing in the universe. So Prison Architect is a game about running and building and managing a prison. And it has a lot of little things. It's very reminiscent of games like Dwarf Fortress and, I don't know, maybe The Sims, and I'm trying to think of other good examples of games that really come out. But it's a fun management, sort of tycoon-y kind of game, and it really is quite enjoyable. So let's go ahead and create a new prison. I'll start on the small map size. We can't actually increase the maps. Actually, no. Let's bump it up to medium just to say. Fog of War. I'm not sure if this is still glitched. It's possible turning it off will still not do anything without editing your save. It just means we're not going to be able to see areas where we don't have any guards or cameras. And continuous intake, normally you have the ability to stop accepting new prisoners. For example, if your prison is full and you don't have the money to expand at this point, then you can turn it off. If you enable continuous intake, then you have no ability to do that. So the defaults, leave them as they are. It's going to be fantastic. And again, even starting with the small plot is fine. You can expand easily later on anyway. Let's go ahead and just get this started. And there we go. So we've got our new territory. I'm going to hit space to pause. We've got some time controls here. Pause, very slow motion, normal speed, and fast forward. So I'll keep it on pause for now while we set things up. So this is our plot of land. Here is the main road. This is where the supply trucks come in. They bring some new employees, they bring prisoners, and they bring actual supplies, such as building supplies, but also food and other resources that you will use to run your prison. So your goal is to build this up and to have your prisoners, and every day you'll get a slight amount of money from the government. I think it's 1,500 bucks. I don't know if we can see it at this point. No, we're going to need some we're going to need an accountant before we can get those numbers, but I think it's $1,500 per day and $100 per prisoner. So the more prisoners you have, the more money you make, but of course the more stuff you have to be able to support them. You can also make a lot of money by introducing some prison labor at some point. So you get your prisoners to stamp out license plates, which is the very classic thing. There's a few other things you can use to make your prisoners work. You can have them clean, you can have them do laundry, you can have them help in the kitchen, and so on and so forth. But the whole time, if they're not happy, or even if they're just generally cranky people to start with, they might be starting fights, they might be trying to break out, they might be murdering each other or your guards, and generally making things very, very terrible for you. So you want to make a prison that is going to have some combination of dealing with people who are troublemakers, but also trying to keep them relatively satisfied and content, so they're not going to try to cause trouble in the first place. And as more patches come out for this, as more alpha builds come out, there's going to be more and more ways to try to manage that. Right now, the easiest way to manage that sort of thing is to run it in a relatively, the left-wing kind of style of try to make everyone as content and happy as possible. And then as the game expands, and already there's a few features for that, but you'll be able to do more of this sort of like, right-wing harsh prison treatment where you keep people in line just by, being kind of, mean to them. Yeah, I mean, these people are going to be like murderers and stuff, so it's not like you're being mean to a puppy or something. Although there are three classes of prisoners that come in: high risk, normal risk, and low risk. For this purposes, I'll leave it on the normal risk. We can accept all types of prisoners. We could decide that we only want low prisoners, or actually, I'm quite fond of playing with only high-risk prisoners. A lot of fun. We'll keep it at normal for this example, just to see how it goes. So we've got this. We've got 10,000 bucks right now, which is not a whole lot of money. But one of the things you can do, and I keep clicking on the shower here because it's a shortcut to the regime tab. But this is basically the reports button in the bottom right corner. We'll open up this screen. It's very, very handy. And one of the first things you should probably do in most games is go to the grants tab. And these are the grants that are available to your prison. And they give you rewards for certain things. But the interesting thing about it is when you take these contracts, they give you the payment up front. So this basic detention center, if we click on that, basic detention center contract, it gives us a $40,000 grant advance right away. So we don't have to do anything, we get huge amounts of money. Same thing with the administration center. For the cell block A quest, it's $20,000 in advance and then $10,000 once we complete it. So if we get our prisoner capacity to 15, and then the health and well-being, that's another $10,000 in advance, and $10,000 upon completion of a medical ward. So now we've got $90,000 to build, and that is quite a bit of stuff. Now, the big thing with this game is laying out all your things, and you're probably going to restart several times as you discover that you haven't left enough room for things, or maybe you've overspent on certain things, and that's fine. That's a totally normal part of the game. There are two major strategies, I would say, in terms of how you build. One is to have a sort of compound, just fenced off with little individual buildings, basically making up your entire prison complex. So you have one building where you might have the actual prisoner cells, another one for the cantina where they eat, another one for the laundry service. Or you can also build one large building and have all these different areas as sort of rooms within this one larger building. And it doesn't really matter which one you pick. They both work totally fine. What I'm going to do for this exercise is I'm going to build a larger building, but I'll probably need more than one larger building to get the job done. So the game is still paused. We're going to start laying out some rooms. I'm going to start by clicking on this planning mode here. And what the nice thing about planning mode when it's turned on like this is I can start just sort of drawing things on the ground, and these do nothing. They're just a way of planning things out for me, a way to sketch things out so that I can see things. You'll notice there are two areas here. One is where incoming deliveries get put, and the other is where garbage from your prison gets put, and eventually trucks will come by and pick that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot out a certain kind of building. I'm going to do a kind of a building kind of like this. And then if I need to expand later, I can build some other buildings, you know, maybe here and here type of thing. I mean, I probably want them to be a similar kind of size, but that's what I'm going to work on for now. And the advantage of having a building like that is I find it interesting to try to fit everything in a certain limited amount of space and to see how well I can do with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by figuring out exactly how wide my building needs to be this way, you know, kind of how tall this way, because, well, I need to start somewhere. And I'm going to base that on my actual prisoners' cells that I'm eventually going to want to build. So a prison cell, and you can find out if you go to the rooms section over here and we go to cell, it'll tell you what is required to make a cell work. And I think I can move this over. Let's move this to-do list over to the left-hand side so you can see the pop-up a little bit more clearly. A cell has a minimum size of 2 by 3. It also needs to be completely enclosed, of course, and it needs a bed and a toilet. But the 2 by 3 bit is the part that's important when looking at that. So you can have a cell that would be a valid cell, right? Or if we just want to include the outside walls, this sort of 6 meter by 4 meter area inside here. Oops, that's wrong actually. There we go, 5 by 4. So inside here, this is the size of the cell that we need. So that's going to be the basis for what I do. So I'm going to redraw it, but what's the middle of the map? The middle of the map is roughly here-ish. Call that the middle. So assuming I build a hallway there, what I can do for my cells is do something like this. Yeah, we can use that as a sort of back wall. And let's say this is the end of my building here. What I can do is build walls like this. There we go. And just continue this pattern. And these will be 2 by 3 cells that will work quite well for holding prisoners. So, and then how wide of a hallway do I want? Do I only want a 1 tile wide hallway? Do I want a 2? You can go back and forth. Let's say I'm trying to save space here, so I'm just going to use the 1 tile wide hallway. And actually what I can do to save time is I can stretch this out and then use the right click to just clear out areas that way. And then draw the back wall and then fill in the gaps this way. So now what I have is a prison cell block here that will fit 8 prisoners. What's quite handy about that is, at least in the beginning, the prisoners seem to come 8 at a time. So that's not a bad number. We can build off that. We can say build ourselves the second block over here, like so, and just knock off every third one, like that, like that, like that, and And what do I have? One tile wide over here, which is great. So now I can do that. Pop these out this way. Draw the connections, which are like that, and one more. And close this all in. And, be a pretty narrow building. But that's possibly not a bad width for what I'm aiming to do here. It'd be too narrow and too long. It would work better, work fine if my building's, you know, maybe roughly that kind of size. I think might look okay. I was hoping for something a little bit bigger. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot out enough room for another prison block right next to this one. But I'm not actually going to... Well, I suppose I could draw, except for the fact that at some point some people are going to get kind of tired of everything. I could go ahead and draw the other cells. I will just draw the front of it. So I've got another pair of cells like this, and that makes the wall in the middle kind of like this. So I'm just continuing this just to see the size of things. Now again, what I'm doing here, this is planning mode. I don't actually have to do this to influence the building in any way whatsoever. So all I want to do is make sure that my spacing looks okay. Let's just stretch this out like this and put another set of cells. There we go. And that'll be the outer wall of my compound, like that. And then, of course, there'll be openings there, and oh, wait, I did one too many here. Oops. There. There, and I think I like this size better, because now if I kind of drag this out to, you know, something vaguely like this and like that, I think that it's a decent ratio. It's almost that 2:1 kind of ratio that, I don't know, to me kind of looks and feels good. We've got a lot of room to work around here and figure out what else we want to do. I'm digging this. I think this is the sort of general shape I want. So let's plot out a few other rooms that we're eventually going to want. The one nice thing about these to-do lists here is they do give you an indication of what else you may want to do. Again, completing this are not critical, because they don't give you any additional reward as far as I can tell. But they're a good guide, and you know, you can knock them off the list there. So we're going to need a canteen for people to eat. We're going to need a kitchen for the food to be prepared in. We build a yard. The yard is outside bit, and that's very easy to do. We'll be able to rip that out pretty darn quickly. A shower is pretty important, and a holding cell. So what's a holding cell? A holding cell is an area that any prisoners that don't have their own personal cell will stay in. And generally speaking, that doesn't make them very happy. You're going to get a lot of riots, a lot of fights if you keep a lot of people in a holding cell. But it's pretty good if you haven't had the money to build out a new cell block yet, or you're just starting out in the game and you haven't been able to finish your individual cells by the time your first prisoners come. You can hold them in the holding cell. Personally, I don't like to use these very extensively because it does tend to lead to trouble, but we'll see what we can do. Now, for the front here, so people are going to come in, and then what? What are they going to see? Well, at some point, we're also going to want to be able to build a visitation room. So I like to, just from a sort of, I don't know, flavor point of view, I like to make sure that right at the front of my building, that's where the visitation room is. So visitors can just come in and see that and then leave. And I feel that, you know, just to give off a good image, I also like to combo it with the common room. So people will come in, they will see their friends and family, you know, the people that are coming to visit. They will see them enjoying themselves, playing pool, watching a little TV, all in this sort of common room at the front. There is a bit of a risk of having the general population of prisoners kind of exposed to the visitors. You know, if they decide to riot, things could go horribly, horribly bad. But luckily, I should always have a guard station there. So, you know, hopefully it'll work out kind of okay. We'll see how it goes. So let's go and I guess we'll continue going to planning room. Now, the common room and visitation rooms have no particular size requirements. Now, the visitation room mostly works by putting down this visitors table here, and we can see if we zoom in, it is a 3 by, I can't actually see the grid very well, a 3x2 square, so you actually don't need very much room. And I haven't seen very many situations where multiple families will come in together. Still, what I think I'm going to do is I will plan out over here. So I think that's the right size for the visitation table. Let me make sure that I've got that correct. Yeah, so it's a 2x3 area. So 2x3 and then a space in between and another 2x3 is going to be plenty for the actual visitation. and then I will plot out a certain amount of area around that for the common room. So I'm basically, yeah, so there'll be tables here for the visitation, and then kind of common roomy kind of area over here. This will also be the front of the prison. So people that come in will be like, oh, this prison's not so bad. I don't have to misbehave. Maybe I'll just leave my shiv here and not bring it inside the prison. Right, that'll never work, but we'll see what we can do. All right, the other thing I like to do, just again as a flavor kind of whatever, is I like to put my offices up front. So offices have to be and we can check it, it's a 4x4 area. Office. So it has to be a 4x4 on the inside. So you need a cube, you need a box here that is 5x5. Wait, that's not right. Yeah, you need a cube that's 6x6 when you count the walls, which this particular, I don't know, stretching of a rectangle is. So we need 6x6 areas, and how many offices do we need? Well, that is really inconvenient. Let's clear this all out and build from the bottom instead. We actually want 5 offices. We need 1 for our warden, and that is very, very, very important. And then we also need offices for our, hold on. We need an office for our chief guard. We need one, yeah, so for the warden, for our foreman, our psychologist, our accountant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think you technically need one for a lawyer, but I haven't really found the need to do the lawyer thing at this time, so I'm not going to worry about it. So let's plan out yet one more office space over here. So 6x6 meter. Maybe that'll be the warden. I'm also going to plot out an area here for our medical area. We're going to have an infirmary at some point. We can have, maybe that'll be a cleaning closet. And finally, this might be the space for our morgue. Not that we're going to need a morgue, because we're going to be super awesome at this game and no one is going to die from riots in our prison. Right, yeah. And then other than that, we're going to need a lot of room for a cantina and a kitchen and not a common room. What else are we going to need? We're actually going to have a lot of space here. We will want a workshop. A workshop is a very, very big. What we might actually do is extend these rooms out forward. We do still need a shower. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll want a relatively big shower, I think. You know what, I think I'm good with this amount of sketching out. We are going to get to the actual gameplay at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this foundation tool. The foundation was used to actually create buildings. And what it will do is it will put down your flooring and some outside walls for you very conveniently. And, you know, you can sort of use them. You could build foundations by just, you know, blocking out little areas like this. But I find that it's much better. I like doing these big buildings and then just doing as one huge sweep like this. It does use a lot of money, but that's going to be most of our foundation that we're going to need for a long time in the game. So I'm going to unpause at this point, let the game go at normal speed. So we've just, yeah, spent a few more dollars on materials, which are going to get delivered by some trucks very soon. There we go. There's our bricks and steel and all that kind of jazz. And our workers are coming in. It's feeling a little laggy. We'll see. See, it does tell you requirements. Requires entrance. We haven't put that down yet. So I will go ahead and... now, they will start working on things as is, but we will need an entrance to our jail, of course. I'm going to use a large jail door right here. That feels pretty good, actually. I like that. And then, again, these walls, these are just planning walls. The only thing that's going to get built at this point is the actual foundation we laid out. This is surprisingly slow. Surprisingly slow. I realize I probably have a couple of things running in the background, don't I? Yeah, it looks like it. So let me close a couple of things here and there. See if that improves things. I think it did. Anyway, so there's our workers. You know, the art is not... It's not fancy art, although I think this guy even blinked. But I like the simplicity of it. To me, this is all you need for this sort of game. Anything more complex would be too much because you're going to be playing a lot, you know, zoomed out. There's going to be a lot of people on screen. It's going to be quite complex. I think the slowdown right now is because of all the stacks of goods that are kicking around right now. There's piles and piles of bricks and steel and mortar just because I've laid out such a big foundation. So as they start building here, it's going to go faster. So we only have workmen as our staff right now. We have 8. I'm going to go ahead and drop 4 more. Whoa. Why is it dropping them in bulk? Does it think that I've got some sort of key click down? I don't know. I only meant to drop down, well, that was 2 clicks, and it added 6, so 3 per click, which seems a little bit odd to me, but alright. It is an alpha. Again, it might think that I have a key put down because of the way I tabbed in or out or some damn thing like that. So, wow, so many trucks. All right. And are they building? Did I not put down my foundation? I put down my door. Oh, you know what happened? I think... Oh, it's... I'm worried that because I put down such a large foundation, these trucks are all going to be stuck. Where's the delivery? Deliveries. Because they have nowhere to drop off their goods, and that might be confusing things. So I'm going to extend the deliveries area here. And I think that's what's happening. All these jobs were all stuck. So normally you won't run into this problem. I've never run into it before because I don't think I've ever just plotted out such a gargantuanly large area before. I probably wasted way, way, way too much money here. And, you know, this first build might be a horrible disaster, but we'll see how it goes. So while they're starting to lay the foundation, I suppose I can keep drawing things out here. Kitchen space. We don't actually need a terrible amount of space for the kitchen. It's mostly the cantina. Now, the cantina is going to use tables and is going to use benches. They are both 4 units long, 4 tiles long. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to put a table, then I'm going to want to have 3 spaces, and then another table, and then a wall on the outside. So, go into the planning tool. So 5 meters, this includes, because I've drawn it there. Actually, I'll start from over here. 4 meters for the table. 7 gives us the space in the middle. Bringing us to 11, that's another 4, and then 12 is the outside wall. So I want 12 meters wide, and then I want to bring it all the way down to here. Whoops. Something's not right here. Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. I was just confused about this extra little drawing here, but it's just because of the way that I dragged it out. So that is totally fine. Then what I want to do is I want to have the kitchen at the bottom, and the whole game is lagging, or maybe it's auto-saving. The kitchen doesn't need much height. I'm going to give it 4 tiles tall of height, and then put a divider in here. So everything above here is going to be the cantina. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of space. I guess what I'm going to do is reserve place for a huge workspace next to this. Now, the workspace... Technically, there's a certain size, but let's not talk about this. And mostly let's just block it out, and then we'll explain it at some point in the future. And that gives us a fairly sized couple of rooms up here. We can do something like maybe a laundry room, some other kind of room. And up here we can fit our showers. We can actually have a whole other row of cells as well. You know what? We could have a nice sort of long kind of shower room here. We can put a door right down here, which I will do. Let me grab the large jail door right down here. And then what I will do is I will fence out a yard. The nice thing about fences, which is under materials over here, fences are free to build. They will tie up your workers as they go and plop them all down, but other than that, fences are totally free. So I can grab... Actually, I should just surround the entire building with a fence. For a variety of reasons, which we will get to later. Mostly having to do with people trying to escape. Like that. And I will build it longer on this side, and we'll give ourselves space for a yard. Give myself a little bit more space. I think I went a little too far over here. It's a ton of space, but it'll work out. Now, can I put a door in the fence? I hope so. Large jail door. We'll put another one right over here. Excellent. And then I will use my rooms allocator and allocate a yard over here on the side of the building. Something like that. It doesn't have to be huge. There we go. Our foundation just finished over here, which is great. It's they're installing a bunch of lights, which meant another expense over there, but other than that, we're fine. And then our workmen are just going to go and work on the fence. So at this point, let me give a quick pause once more. Go to the object screen. We've got a door there. We've got a door there. We've got a door there, which is all great. The door is already installed, and it is currently open. Until our prisoners show up, the doors will all just be open, and once the prisoners show up, then they will start to get closed off as appropriate. I'm going to use one of these rooms here as my holding pen for now. Later on, it'll probably become something else. Well, Or maybe not. It may not, actually. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to switch to my materials tool, and I'm going to build some brick walls. And I'm just going to follow the outline that I'm going to want later, and do something like that. So this is going to be my holding pen, and we will drop a large door in there. That's weird. I just don't know why one side of it is so bright. Now, I'm going to block out the holding cell room in here, and it's going to tell me a few things. It's the right size, but it will currently not be a valid room because it's not currently enclosed by walls and doors. Well, of course, they haven't been installed yet, so that makes sense. It also needs one toilet and one bench. In fact, we will give them a little bit more than that. Probably. I don't know, maybe for now we'll just do that because, again, we're not expecting to use this holding cell at this time. So we can drop one bench over, say, here, and we can drop one toilet over here. That's not going to be particularly private, but, you know, they're prisoners. They can't really expect that. If they wanted privacy, then they shouldn't have committed any kind of horrible crime that they were, you know, sentenced to. I hope none of them are actually innocent. That would be pretty disheartening. So that's good. We need that to get started. The other thing that is a super duper high priority, so I will plot things out right now for that, is the kitchen. Very, very high priority. The kitchen and cantina. So let's plot this out. And then I can use right clicks to clear away doors. So we'll do, actually, I don't need to do the same sort of security doors here. We'll use doors, but we'll use simple doors. So there's a few different types. The jail door and large jail door are normally locked. Anyone wanting to go through them, a guard needs to open the door for them. The cells work a little bit differently. During the day, all the cell doors are automatically opened, like in bulk. And then at night, they're all sealed in as the prisoners go to sleep. But every other prison or jail door that you put anywhere else, it's normally closed, so you need a guard around to be able to open and close it for people. A regular door, anyone can walk through anytime they want. The staff door, I think, is locked to prisoners. It's not necessarily the highest security, but prisoners do get kept out from that. And then there's a solitary door, which I believe just works like a jail door. Potentially it's tougher to break down. Plus, it just stylistically works better. Anyway, we're going to use some regular doors over here for our cantina and kitchen, which works pretty well. I'm also going to go ahead and, yeah, we should have enough money. We're going to plop down the walls for our offices. Actually, I'm just going to do the left-hand side ones here, mostly because the warden is going to be up here. So let me do that, and then pop out the middle. I'm not even going to install doors in these other ones yet. I will simply install a staff door here, and I will go ahead and construct the room. This is going to be an office. This is going to be my warden's office. If I mouse over, it'll tell me I'm missing an office desk, a chair, and a filing cabinet. So again, go into my objects. You can find the office desk right here. Also, if you're zooming into a room, it'll highlight, put a white square around everything that's appropriate for that room. So the office desk is highlighted. So we'll put that down there. The chair is highlighted. You can rotate with the middle mouse button or by hitting R on the keyboard. So we'll give them a chair, and then we're going to put a filing cabinet, say, over here. People can mostly walk through objects. Facing of the objects doesn't really matter. I will arrange it so that it looks appropriate because, you know, it's a bit of a role-playing game. Let's unpause things at this point. We're going to do fine. We do have a full day before the first prisoners arrive. We have 16 hours left, and that should be more than enough. It's mostly going to be whether our workmen finish everything on time, and we have enough of them at this point. It's going to be totally okay. Just for symmetry and to make the workmen's lives a little easier, actually, let's boost the speed as well. I'm going to put a large jail door over here. By the way, every now and again you'll see a number underneath one of these. That means you already have one of those objects. So you can put it down basically for free. You have it in storage or it's sitting in a box somewhere or something. In fact, what's quite notable to see at this point is if we go into our utilities, you can see that, well, I don't know how well you can tell these things actually at this point. But we'll be able to see later on once some things get installed. We don't have any electricity going on right now in our prison, nor do we have any water. Those are both handled by utilities, which are down here. And I'm going to go ahead and build the utility stations just over back here. So I'm going to drop a power station. Now, they normally cost 5,000, but we do start with one. So I'm going to pull up that down, yeah, sure, right here. And we've also got a water pump station, which I will pop down here, should be fine, and a capacitor. So the power stations are interesting. Basically, If you run out of power, you will think, oh, I need more power stations, but you don't. You actually just need more capacitors. And the capacitors have to be touching the power station. So you want to leave a gap around here so you can build capacitors all the way around. I'm not sure if the diagonals work. I don't remember if they do. But certainly on the sides. The diagonals probably work, I'm just not 100% sure. So and then the other thing we're going to want to do is get down some electrical cable. We're going to wait until these get installed, and then we'll talk about those in a moment. Yeah, so this yard fails right now because it's not secured behind the door yet. And what we'll probably do actually is put down another fence over here. In fact, I'm quite keen on that idea. You know what? Here and here. There we go. So the advantage of having this outer fence is it will make it a lot harder for your prisoners to tunnel out of your compound. And yes, they can do that. There we go. So you can see all the lights in here are all being complained about the fact that they have no power at all. One disadvantage of doing this big foundation like I did is that your people will purchase and then install a lot of lights. They'll spend a lot of money, and those lights do eat a lot of power. But it's not, I don't find it game breaking, so we should be okay. Now these are starting to get put together. I'm going to start building my first block of cells over here. And because I would like my prisoners, whoops, that first batch of prisoners to be in a cell as quickly as possible. I suppose actually I could take the shortcut of doing this again and then just right-clicking the places where I want gaps. Drag that out. And here, and here, and here. Now in these cells, what will we want? We will want, the cells need a bed and a toilet to work. So we're going to go ahead and put in a set of those. We'll put the beds on the outside. And then we will put down the toilets. You know what? I will put them at the foot of the beds like this. Which is bad because anyone who goes by the door will look in directly at the toilet. But again, if you wanted privacy, you shouldn't have committed your horrible, horrible crime. This game. Oof. Alright. Our water pumping station is complaining about the lack of power. Now, most of the time, for power, you can simply drag a power cable down, and it will power most things in the nearby area. However, anything that's got a connection like this, an actual power connection coming out of it, you have to explicitly connect it with an electric wire. So I'm going to have to do that there. But other than that, we should be mostly okay. I'm going to run this wire down to here, and then across this way, and then into the holding cell. And then over here into these offices. They do have a certain range, but I'm not 100% sure what that range is. And then something like this should be totally fine. These things are turning red because some people have no routes. Why do they have no routes? Oh! That's because this door... Okay, this is in the shut position. No, this is in the shut position. This is in the open. It's because this fence here should not be there. Demolish wall. There we go. Hopefully someone will come by and take care of that really quickly, because right now, there we go. And that can happen. If you build the wall first, depending on how you build them, sometimes when you install the door, it will properly close, and other times it will not. I can't even see my door anymore. Did my door get deinstalled? I think it may have. Now that's interesting that my inner doors... Oh no, I guess this one was staying open. There we go. Yeah, there, it's open now. Once we get prisoners, again, these doors will close automatically unless you have guards. But right now, we're still doing okay. So we've got a holding cell. It's mostly working, except it is complaining about the lack of water in the toilet. And you do get nice symbols for that, reminding you of things that aren't working. So we're going to switch back to the utilities view, which is basically like a subterranean view where you can see all the buried pipes and wires and all that. So I'm going to take my large pipe out of the water station over here. I'm going to drag it over this way. And then I'm going to bring it down, I guess, to around here. Well, you know what? I'll just bring it to here. And then I'm going to... Actually, that's going to be good enough. And we'll use the small pipes to connect to the toilets. So the small pipes are A, cheaper. B, they can't carry water quite as far, so you can't do everything with the small pipes. And the other thing is, the big pipes actually... Well, have you guys seen Shawshank Redemption? People can crawl through them. It makes the escape much, much easier. So keep that in mind as you're laying pipe, which makes me think of a song. So we're going to drag some water over there, bring a little small pipe down to this toilet here. We will need some water in the kitchen. So we can actually start putting down those rooms so we can get some notification about what we're missing as well. So we got lots of lamps here with no power. And I'm not going to bother powering all the lights to start off with, actually. Only the areas that I care about are going to have power, and I'm not really going to be concerned with too much else. So the kitchen needs a cooker, a fridge, and a sink to get started. So let's go and take a look at the objects. Again, if we kind of zoom in, it'll highlight some of the things that are relevant. So we need a cooker. It's an electric stovetop, or a hob, as the British people would say. Or at least the Scottish people. I don't know if all British people say it. Or UKians. And I certainly don't know about the Irish. I know there's a difference. I understand the difference. And a sink, which I will put over here. So later on, when I need a second fridge, I can put it there. If I need a second cooker, I can put it there and expand these things as well. So now, let's... you'll notice this, this stove needs an actual hardwired connection to the electric cable. So we'll just drag that over there. The fridge should be fine. It'll be within range, and it should just work, as far as I know. Oh, no, it actually does need a connection, but luckily it's in the right place. And then the sink needs some water. Now, I think I can run a small pipe all the way there to save money. We'll see. We may have to replace some. Now, luckily, if you do ever, like, take away some piece of piping, for example, it's not trashed. It just goes into your storeroom somewhere. And then you can reuse it later on. Now, my power just died. I do not have enough capacitors to power everything, so I can switch this back on. It'll come on, and then it'll immediately brown out again. Wait for it. Yeah, see, everything is off. So, and also the capacitors are actually off. Now, when I switch this capacitor back on, you'll see it puts a notch here. And if I add extra capacitors, it'll add additional notches to my power station. I'm going to add 2 more. They're quite expensive. Once they get placed, it should add extra notches. And here's the thing you need to note. If your power goes out, if you brown out, you've got to turn all your capacitors back on first, and then the power station. It's very, very important. Otherwise, nothing will ever improve. Now, the canteen needs a serving table, a table, and a bench. So, as far as I can tell, it only ever needs 1 serving table, which is here. People serve themselves from the sort of graded area. You can imagine they're going to grab their tray and then slide it along, taking food off the other serving places over there. So 1 serving table should be plenty. And then for my actual places where my prisoners will eat, I will drop a bench, another bench, and a table in between. The same thing. We're going to have a table, leave room for a bench, another bench, and a table. And this is actually going to be overkill to get started, but that's okay. There. This sort of thing should work. Maybe I should leave some spacing in there, but I don't know. I think we'll be alright enough. Now, have people installed the capacitors? Yes, they have. So now I'm up to 4 segments of power. Let's see if that's enough. Switch on. There we go. We're good. We're going to have to watch that very carefully as we expand here and more lights get on the network. And that's the problem. We have tons of lights that are being powered. Individually, lights don't take a whole lot of energy, but it adds up over time. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that, and certainly we'll have to add some more. We are 2 hours away from our first prisoner intake. Let's pause for a sec. We don't have any guards yet. We don't have any chefs for the kitchen, but other than that, our basic detention center is in place. We don't have individual cells yet. First, we do have to mark them as cells. That's step number 1. So creating these rooms. Now, they have toilets, they have beds. They are only missing the fact that they are not fully enclosed. There we go. Yeah, just paused, unpaused, and paused again. They're not enclosed because they don't have a door here. I believe if I put a door here, that may count. I'm not sure. But individual doors on these cells, because you can do, like, shared cells, I guess is it. You can have a cell where, well, holding cells are shared, for example. But by having individually sealed rooms like this, people can be put on lockdown. If they commit some sort of offense, and they have to be punished, the guards will take them to their room and lock them in their room for an hour or two, as a bit of a punishment for having done some kind of infraction. So it's nice to have individual rooms like this. Now, I always put in the doors last because otherwise, let's say the workers come over, install the door, and then they need to install the bed. Then they're going to drag the bed over here, and they're not going to be able to go through the door. They're going to have to wait for a guard to show up to let them into the room, and it slows down the whole process. Put down your doors last. Much, much better off. But other than that, we're okay. I will go ahead and order a couple of guards. So the guards cost 500 to hire up front, and then 100 a day payable at midnight. Generally speaking, you don't want to see the daily budget, really. What I have to do is fire some workmen at this point. And that's okay. You know what? They've done a pretty good job for me. I'm okay with that. So we're going to go into the report. We're going to go into staff. And I'm going to drop myself down to, you know what? I'm going to go down to 6 at this point. That's going to be okay. We don't need quite as much speedy construction speed anymore. And I will hire a second guard. Boom. Which is actually needed over here. I also need to hire 2 chefs to complete this whole thing. 2 chefs is actually quite a bit of overkill at this point. But, you know, whatever. We'll get things crossed off. Oh, we need the shower still. I forgot that I didn't do this. This was going to be a shower over here, wasn't it? Let's go ahead and block off a nice large area for that. What am I looking for? Bricks. The shower might be a little bigger than it needs to be, but we can always make adjustments later on. I'm going to go ahead and take that off and this off over here. I'm going to go and put in some basic doors so that the prisoners don't have to wait for a guard to be let in and out of the shower. There we go, like that. And then I'm going to go room. We're going to block off shower over here, like so. Shower needs at least 1 shower head. Most importantly also, it also needs drains. Otherwise you're going to get a lot of water splashing all over the place. I like to put the drains right in front of the doors. Water will still probably splash out, but it'll be mostly held in check. And then the shower heads are over here. I'm just going to turn them this way. They don't really have to face anyway. And then I will just put them against the wall, give it a little bit of spacing. Prisoners don't like it if they're really, really crowded. It tends to make them fight. There, and that should work relatively okay. We do have to draw some water in here. Let's go back to our utilities view, small pipes. We've got a water pipe going right there. So we'll just drag it out this way. And I will bring in the electric cable. You know what, I'll run it over here. And that should be okay to empower this room once it gets built. The room doesn't really need power other than for the lights, but it still seems like a good idea to get most things covered. There we go. So you can see now prisoners have arrived, so now these doors are all shut by their nature. So the guards are going to come and grab individual prisoners and bring them in, and if any workers want to try to get through the door, they're going to have to wait for a guard to come by and open it up for them. The guard will come and open the door specifically for workmen if they're not doing anything else. We got a cook there as well. He's probably going to grab some ingredients. You can see them waiting here. We'll probably want some extra guards, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and drop down another 2. 1, 2, 4 guards is going to be a pretty good way to start. Speaking of hiring, I really do need to hire my warden. I should have hired him probably a little sooner. So what does the warden do? Warden doesn't do much other than unlock the bureaucracy tab. He can research things. The warden can research the security, the chief of security, right? So you spend 500 bucks. I'm actually going to do that now. Is that what I want first? Probably for deployment. Yeah, let's start the security. It's 500 bucks, and then it takes 6 hours of in-game time to do that. Now, I could click on someone else, and that would queue it. So after doing security, he could start maintenance, which is probably okay. And then the security guy, if I put him down in the game, he can research these other things that are really, really, really handy. So we're going to, we'll queue up the maintenance next on the warden, so I don't forget it. And frankly, we're going to want the healthcare unlocked right after that as well. So, not much going on in the holding cells, prisoners in their pens over there. What are they going to do throughout the day? Well, they actually have a schedule. If I, again, click on reports or that thing, you've got the regime over here. This shows their actual schedule right now. 8 a.m., shower. 10 a.m. is free time. Then they get to eat, lunch. They have some time outside in the yard. Then they have some free time where they can do whatever they want, eat, and then sleep some more. Now, they do have a few needs, which I actually can't get at this point. I need a psychologist on staff to be able to identify what needs people need to make themselves happy at any given time. One of the things I can tell you that helps a lot early on is they want to be able to contact their friends and family. So payphones are a great way of doing that. Here, right here, phone booth. I guess they're not payphones, or phone booths. I like to put 3 in the cantina over here. That's why I leave this space in the middle. That way, they've got some extra time during meals, so I like to give them the opportunity to do that. In fact, I'm going to also put down some TVs here. Again, the facing doesn't really matter. They mostly stand on top of the TV when they're interacting with it, and that should help make them a lot happier. We can also drop some phone booths in the yard, is another very common thing to do. So I will go ahead and just drop a couple more on the side here, and also we'll give them some weight benches. You know, that's very the stereotype, right? Of you go to the yard and you lift heavy weights and keep yourself entertained. Plus, they'll just generally run around, get some free time outside, and that's great. Now, this schedule, though, I have to admit, I'm not a huge fan of this lunchtime schedule. I like to move it closer to the beginning as more of a breakfast thing. In fact, I feel like there's too much white space here to get started. So I'm going to go and say shower, followed by eat. And for now, they're mostly just going to have a whole lot of free time. Some people will go to the yard during their free time. Some people will do other things, and that's all fine and dandy. We'll explicitly give them yard time there, and then eat again, and then go to sleep. And in fact, I think that, well, this is 12 hours apart. That's actually not too bad. That'll probably work, and then, you know, maybe they can get a little more free time right before bed. So you can see, oh, someone just had a shower, and they will go and shower during their free time if they're feeling dirty as well. And then, so you get a little bit of overflow, but as long as you've got a few drains there, you're going to be just fine and peachy. This video is actually running a little bit long, so we're going to put a cut in here, and see you next time.